I've been managing my money for over 10 years, which has helped me not only pay off my student loans, but go on 3-month-long trips, save up for a home, and eventually have enough of an emergency fund to quit my 9 to 5 job and start my own business. Whether I'm making $40,000 a year on my very first job when I was 22 years old, or now making over 6 figures, what I found to be the most important lesson is how I manage my money to get the most of what I have and not necessarily how much I make. In today's video, I want to share with you my tips on how I manage my money so that I enjoy a healthy balance between living in the present and saving for the future. In fact, 56% of Americans can't cover a $1,000 emergency expense with savings. So let's not be part of this statistics, and wherever you are in your financial journey, let's start now so that you can be on top of your money goals in the new year. So let's get started. So welcome to the tutorial portion of this video where I'll be going through how I budget my income and expenses. To be honest, I've gone through a lot of budgeting templates. I've gone through a lot of apps in the past. I just find that my favorite way of kind of handling my own finances is through an Excel sheet or through a Google sheet in this particular example. And I've made many edits along the way. I've done this for 10 years. So as you can imagine, I've improved these templates over time. And if you want access to this particular template that we'll be going over today, then feel free to check out the description box down below. Other than that, let's jump right into it. So this is the 2024 budget and net worth tracker. Let me first introduce to you each of the tabs, and then we'll jump into the main part, which is the master budget. And I will also be going through an example of how I allocate my income and account for my expenses on a monthly basis. So we'll be going through that in detail in just a little bit. So let's first start off with the annual overview. This is more meant as a snapshot of where you are that you could check anytime throughout the year. So as you can see, for snapshots, you could see the monthly savings, you could see the percentage of your savings, and you could also get a snapshot of your net worth, such as your cash, your investments, and your real estate. And these graphs will be updated in real time as you update the various months. There is also a section down here called Big Picture Money Goals. And this is an area that you want to spend at the beginning of the year to really think through what your money goals are so that you could plan ahead and put a little bit away each month so that you could ultimately achieve these money goals. So I put in a couple of examples, but feel free to edit it. The first one that I have over here is an emergency fund. I put in 3 months of expenses. As an example, I put in $15,000. And if you are planning to save towards this $15,000 in the next year, you can see that it does a calculation for you where you need to save $1,250 per month. Another example of big picture money goals is putting towards your dream home, your dream car, as well as your retirement or FIRE, which stands for financial independence, retire early. So these are various ideas, but if you have your own other money goals, like you're saving up towards a wedding or a vacation, feel free to edit these. Everything in white is subject to edit, and then everything in gray is actually automated. So it'll do the calculations for you. So that's your annual overview. The next tab here is the monthly overview, which has a lot more details. As you can see here, there are various buckets for various expenses or allocation of your income. You could also see that you could compare your budget to your actual expenses. It'll show you if you're under or over a budget, what your monthly income is, your percentage of savings. There's also a section where you could fill out your bank account information each month. So if you have various bank accounts like your RBC, your HSBC, then you could actually jot down what those amounts are each month so that you could keep tabs on your cash balance. Like I mentioned, everything in gray is automated. So we'll see where these numbers are pulling from for your investments. There's also a section for your real estate. So if you own your own property, then you could write down what the fair market value is and what your mortgage amount is. I put in an example where if the fair market value of your property is $500,000 and you have a mortgage of $450,000, then your net worth is $50,000. And you can see it's been accounted for down here. Now moving on to the next section for income, as important it is to keep track of your expenses, I also find it more important to keep track of your income and have income goals. So there are two main sections here. There are income goals and there are actual earnings. When it comes to income goals, you could list your various sources of income, such as your job, any freelance work you have, any side hustles, any investment income, rental property, etc. So feel free to fill them out here. I just put these as examples, but feel free to edit them however you like. Now down here are actual earnings. So while you might have income goals, goals and forecast what your income might be. After the month is over, you could go back and actually put down what you earned in that month. And down here, you could actually compare whether you were able to meet those income goals or not. So for example, let's say your job brings in $5,000 per month. Let's say you're aiming for $500 of freelance work and $500 of side hustle income. Now, once the month is over and you check your bank account for your job, it's pretty consistent because you have a set salary that is coming in. But when it comes to freelance work and side hustles, it might vary. So let's say that you had a particularly good month for freelance work and you were able to bring in $700, whereas for side hustle income, you were only able to bring in $200. So you can see that there is a difference of unmet side hustle income of $300 versus, freelance work, you were able to earn more than you expected. And as you update this tab, you could also see that the monthly overview is being updated based on the actual income that comes in. And in this case, it's $5,900, and you can see that it's being pulled to the monthly overview. Now, moving on to investments. So this is another area where you could track your investments if you have them in various accounts. So for one, you could have investments in your TFSA, your RRSP, and even your FHSA, which is something that is brand new in 2023. So you want to track what your initial investment is. So in your TFSA, it could be $10,000. In your RRSP, you could have put in $15,000 and etc. And as you know, investments fluctuate over time. And while it's not healthy to be checking how your investments are doing, every day, I think it's good practice just to kind of check in like once a month. So when I am doing my budgeting, I also like to log into my accounts and check how they are doing just to kind of keep a pulse on them. So for your TFSA, you might be doing well where you're earning $12,000. Your RRSP might have dropped a little bit because you take on a little bit more riskier positions since it's more meant to be long term. It might have dropped to, let's say, $13,000. And you can see down here that it actually keeps track of how your investments are doing over time. And this would be a really good snapshot at the end of the year to see how much your investments have moved. Now, moving on to the main event, which is a master budget. We'll be spending the most amount of time here. And I would like you to really take the time, let's say January, or even better now at the end of December, to sit down with yourself and go through how you like to allocate your income for the upcoming year. And as you can see here, you first put down what your expected income is going to be in the following year. Let's say on a monthly basis, you expect to earn $5,000 to be conservative. That would be our starting base. Now, we would have to go through each of the buckets to kind of allocate that income. I put in a couple of examples here, but as I mentioned, everything in white is subject to edit. So you could actually delete this and edit it however you like, and it will be updated automatically. I put in a couple of examples here for future me. One of those savings goals can be an emergency fund. And going back to the annual overview, we can see that we need to put down $1,250 each month to work towards a $15,000 emergency fund. And in this case, we would just need to put down $1,250. Now for housing, let's say that we are currently renting and the budget there is $2,000 per month. So as you can see, we are currently at $3,250 and we have about $1,750 to allocate. And let's say for groceries, let's put in $400, household supplies, let's put in $100, utilities another $100. Let's see where we're at. We have $1,150 left. For eating out, let's put in a budget of $200, personal hygiene and shopping, etc. Let's put in $100 for gym and fitness classes. Clothes, let's allocate $150, and then personal hygiene, let's put in $50. We might have subscriptions like Amazon Prime, 20, let's say 20, and then 10. Here I put in a section for my dog. I have a budget for my dog. His name is Lucky, and pets, as you can imagine, can get quite expensive. So you also want to put aside a budget for them. For pet food, let's put in $50. For vet visits, let's put in $100, and toys, let's put in $20. Let's see how we're doing. We still have $430 left. Okay, so let's kind of allocate that even more. Okay, so a big portion that we didn't consider are transportation. So if you own a car or if you have lease payments, those can get quite pricey. Let's just allocate all of $430 to our vehicle. So we're out of the $5,000 of income. We've allocated everything, and this is going to be our tentative goal for the rest of the year. So now that we've set a budget, let's actually go through what we would do on a monthly basis to see how we are doing. Let's move on to the first month. So let's say you finish January and we are sitting back and we're seeing how we've done for the month. So the first step is to log into your bank account and download all the transactions for the month, whether it's related to your checking account, your savings account, and even your credit cards. So there's usually an option where you could download everything in a CSV file or in an Excel file, and the typical format will usually be date, details, and the amount. And so all you need to do is you need to copy and paste it and put it here. An important thing to note is that all expenses should have a negative sign in front of it that indicates that it's an expense, and anything that has a positive sign or no sign means that it's an income or it's an allocation. And in this case, you can see that there is a positive $1,250 that has been allocated to your savings account. So let's go through each expense and see how we would allocate it. And now we're just going to quickly go through each one. So for tennis lessons, we remember them as being fitness classes. So you could either just search it up if you know the expense type, or you could actually look through or scroll through the various expenses and click on the applicable one. So in the case of Safeway, we know this relates to groceries. For liquor store, we could have a budget for groceries or we could have a budget for alcohol. Let's put in a budget for alcohol under eating out. Alcohol. So now we could search up alcohol here. There we go. For restaurant, we know this is related to restaurants. For pet store, we know this is related to pet food. So the thing with Amazon is that we don't know what they are related to. It's very generic on the credit card statement. So something I like to do is just to go back and check what they are related to. So maybe I ordered dish soap, maybe I ordered hand soap, and then I ordered some gloves. And there's actually a section for it here where you could put down any details or notes so that when you look back on this a couple months later, you could actually know right away what that particular expense is related to. So I always like to put in more details than less, as that's going to help me later down the road when my memory isn't so great. So let's just allocate these to household. Another way is if you want to just speed it up, you could actually just copy and paste it if it's relating to the same expense. For gloves, let's say it's related to shopping, so clothes and shoes. We do have a budget for Uber or taxis. Animal hospital, we know that's vet related. For TELUS, we know this is related to utilities. Like I said, you could copy and paste it. Starbucks, we know that's coffee. We know restaurant is just restaurant. Gym is fitness or gyms. Zara is, let's say, shopping. Let's say clothes. Yes. Netflix, we have a budget for that. And then we have an allocation for savings for our emergency fund. So emergency fund, yes. So as you can see, it can go quite quickly once you are familiar with all your expenses. And as we've been updating here, our actual expenses have also been updated. For the emergency fund, we've allocated the $1,250. Everything else has been allocated as well. If you scroll to the bottom here, you could actually compare what your actual and your budgeted expenses were. So when it comes to total expenses, it's $723 versus the budget of $3,750. There is a difference of $3,000 if this is actually true. One thing we did forget is to put in rent, because rent can be quite a big item. So let's say that you had a rent expense go out, because this is pretty predictable. It happens at the first of each month. Let's say it's $2,000 and we allocate it to rent. So now rent has been accounted for and the difference has gone down to $1,027. So obviously we didn't finish for the month. We've only done a part of the month, so there is a bigger difference. But if you finish it for the rest of the month, then you will be able to see how much over or under budget you are. When it comes to savings, you were able to save and allocate what you have budgeted, which is the $1,250 towards your emergency fund, so that there is a $0 difference. Now, something that I highly recommend that you do at the end of every month is in the case that there is a difference. So let's say you incurred a big expense. Let's say that you bought a TV that was $1,500. You bought a TV and this was unexpected. Since we don't have a category for that, let's just say and put that under here as miscellaneous. So under miscellaneous, let's put in your TV for $1,500. So now we see that there is a expense of $1,500, and now the difference is that we're over our budget by $473. In this case, we always want to reflect why we went over budget, and a simple way to do that is to just summarize it here. So let's say that we had to buy a TV that month, and that is why we were over by the $473. We could either do that amount or we could do this amount here. So that was an unexpected expense, and we were able to account for it by by putting down what the differences are related to down here. So that's how I would go through my expenses in a nutshell. If we were to go back to our monthly overview, we can see that all the different categories have been filled out already. We could see that our budget and our actual has a difference of the $473, and our monthly income, which we put down as $5,000, was actually higher because we had a good month. And we can see what our savings rate is over here, that we actually saved $1,677, and then we had as 28% savings rate. Now, if we were just to finish this off, let's say that we had an HSBC account, and then let's say we had an RBC account, TD account, and in each account we had various amounts. Let's say $2,000, $1,500, $6,000. So in that case, we have a cash balance of $9,500. We have various investments, we have a real estate, and our net worth here is $84,500. Now, if we were to move over to the annual budget, you can see that it has been updated. You could also see everything in a snapshot overview. You could see our monthly savings, and this will be updated as you complete each month. You could also see the savings percentage and your net worth breakdown, and you can see visually what they related to. So the bigger portion here in gray is real estate. Second biggest portion are your investments, and the third is your cash. So that is budgeting in a nutshell. If you want this template, I will be providing a link to it down below where you could go purchase it. I also have a free version that you could download down below. Just keep in mind that it's not going to have as many options as this one, but it is a good place to start if you're just looking for a free template. So everything will be down below. There you have it. That is how I manage my money in a nutshell. I personally find it empowering when I'm on top of my finances. However, if you're just getting started and you need a little bit of a motivation, a small tip I have is to pair a budgeting session with something that you actually enjoy, like having a glass of wine. And you'll notice over time, these budgeting sessions will become more natural for you, and maybe even look forward to doing them once a month. Thank you so much for watching today. I hope this video was helpful, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye!